speak from the chair, and questions of the city should be directed to the attorney for the city. At this time, I ask all persons who expect to give testimony tonight to please stand and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, as we do at normally every meeting, we will be taking cases out of order. If you go to your case number 2965, that will be our first case this evening, then we'll go back to our regular scheduled program. At this time, I'd like to also take care of our ex parte communications. I'll now ask the members of the board if they've had any ex parte communications with anyone regarding any of the matters that are coming before the board this evening. If you've had verbal ex parte communications, please disclose the when, where, and with whom those communications occurred, as well as the sum and substance of those communications. If you received written ex parte communications, please disclose the form of the written communications, who sent you the communications, and the sum and substance of those communications. Starting with you, Mr. Gear.
No.
I've had none.
Had none.
I've had none.
I've had none. I've had none.
Thank you. Okay, we will begin with the first case.
Do we want to go ahead and do the minutes?
Minute.
first?
Oh, yes, thank you. Okay, so everybody hopefully has received a copy of the July 14, 2021 meeting minutes.
I
Are there-
move to approve the minutes.
Well, hang on.
Give him a chance to,
Yeah.
a little excited.
If you recall, at the beginning, it was said you may speak after seeking permission from the chair. Okay, so does anybody have any edits or additions to those minutes? Seeing none, I will now accept a motion.
I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nays? No nays. Motion carries. All right, on to the first case.
Our first case is going to be case number 21-2965, City versus Joan M. Brown, for the property located at 8204 Collier Place. The case is before the board based on an alleged violation of Section 12-861E3, fences. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Code Compliance Officer Jose Silva. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Jose Silva, Code Compliance Officer. This case originated proactively on June 14, 2021. My inspection noted at the time a new wood privacy fence installed without a permit and the smooth side or finished side not facing out as required by the city code. I left a door hanger with a compliance date of June 24, 2021. On June 18, 2021, I received an email from Community Development. The permit was paid in issue, but the fence was still not turned around facing smooth side out. My inspection on July 16th noted no change, so a notice of violation was completed with a compliance date of July 30, 2021. Posted notice at the home, as well as City Hall, mailed copies both certified and regular mail to the address of the registered owner. During my inspection on July 30th, 2021, I noted the fence still not installed with the smooth side, finished side facing out. This time I'd like to submit 2 photographs, notice posted at the front door, and the fence not facing the smooth side out.
We'll accept those. Thank you.
As of today's date, the property is still out of compliance.
Thank you. Any questions for the code officer?
I actually have one.
Okay.
We could go back to the photographs, just for the clarification for the purpose of the record. The fence that is the subject of this violation is which one? I see 2 fences in the picture.
The newest one, that back one,
The brown one back there.
the back one.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Yes, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, at least I think it's obvious that it must be code for Temple Terrace to have the smooth part of the fence facing outward, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that fence looks like it was professionally done. I don't know. It looks pretty nice. So would it be appropriate to ask who did the fence and why
No,
they didn't?
it's neither here nor there who did it or why they did it. It's the fact of the matter is, as it sits today, it's not in compliance.
It falls to the responsibility of the homeowner regardless.
Well, of course it is, but what if they didn't know, and what if the person that did it did know? They're really the perpetrator, if you ask me. To me, to me, it does make sense.
Well, that's something maybe we talk about during our discussion. But-
Okay.
But that's,
All right.
but quite frankly, the, who installed it is immaterial. It's the fact, it currently is in violation, and, as it sits here today, it's in violation.
Right. Sir, and when you pull the fence permit on the application, it gives you
Guidelines.
instructions
Yeah, it gives you the guidelines, yeah.
on how the fence is supposed to be installed. If the permit would have been pulled first, they would have known how the fence should have been installed.
Did the city have to go out and like pass, like inspect it to make sure that it was done properly?
The,
After they pulled the permit, like when you have to get electrical permits or whatever.
it was an after-the-fact permit. Community development advised that they were still not facing the correct way, so an inspector went out there and looked at it.
I got a question. Do you know whether or not the homeowner did do it, or did I guess a fence
Homeowner's here, you can ask her.
builder did it?
Again, it's really not a relevant question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
If the respondent's here and would like to say something, please approach, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Joan Brown, 8204 Collier Place. And yes, after the fact did this, and no, nothing intentional was ever done. I knowingly did not go out to do it, obviously. So, actually no names given, but it was a friend of mine, does a lot of work, but it was a friend of mine who does really good work, and they're the ones that did it for me, not knowing, obviously, because I trust them. But put the fence up, and I got the notice, and within a few days, I did go and pull the permit. Initially, in my mind, and from something I inquired in the past, when I was just replacing an old wooden fence with the same type of another fence, didn't really realize or think that a permit was required on just replacing the same type of fence in the backyard. And then also with the facing of it, I'm not a corner lot, so that when that was suggested to me, or we discussed that, we went ahead and went with that, obviously not knowingly doing that. Obviously now I know. But I guess my question is, since I do have, it was done all at my expense, not the neighbors, but my 3 neighbors, and I have letters I'd like to submit from all 3 of the side that border the fence, who are perfectly aware of it and perfectly fine of the way it's facing. I understand what's in the code, but I guess coming here, I know what I'm up against, but I really just wanted to, and I wasn't ignoring any of the notices. Actually, I was in phone call communication with their office several times about it, but I really wanted it to get to this point, because I normally don't do this, but I just felt like I wanted to voice my opinion if something in the future can be changed, because it is very professionally done, as you said. It's a very nice fence. And when I sit in my backyard, and single mom, retired now, and I look out there, it's great to see that nice smooth side of a fence, and so, and I do have letters from all my neighbors who are okay with it, so I guess I'm asking if it can be
If you
left.
want to submit those into evidence, you're more than welcome to.
Pardon me?
If you want to submit those letters into evidence,
Okay.
yeah, you can more than welcome
Here,
to.
or-
Give them to council.
Right here. It's from the 3 neighbors that border each side of the fence, and they're all aware of it, they're aware of the change, and they're both perfectly fine with it facing the way it is, and that's what the letter states. So that's why I'm here. I just want, and if it doesn't change, I recommend, because from what I gather in some of the conversations, this isn't the first time, and it's been brought up before about this, so I don't know. I feel like the property owner, putting out the expense, should have the opportunity to enjoy the nice side of the fence. That's my opinion. So that's really all I have.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for council. I know this has come up before. Is there, because she has neighbors that are okaying it, is there some way to get a waiver to the requirement to have the nice side out?
I would have to look into that, whether the variance review board, because that's, to my knowledge, or the Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment, yeah.
Is the only one that can adjust the requirements of the
Right.
code, short of the city council changing the code.
Right.
completely.
I know it's come up before, and I know that there was a fence issue some time ago where we did allow him to have the nice side in. It wasn't just because the neighbors liked it, but there was some construction issues that prohibited the fence from being properly placed in accordance with our codes, and I know there was a variance issued in that particular case. So what I'm going to suggest to this board is that we table this particular case until our next meeting, which would give Ernie the opportunity to see if there's a waiver procedure so that you can go through, so you don't have to take the fence down. Okay?
And again, specifically, what I'll do is just see if whether this is something that can go in front of the Board of Adjustment
Okay,
for the variance fee.
okay.
It's a $300 fee for a variance. It's a $300 fee for you to go in front of a variance board, and it doesn't mean that you're gonna get the variance for that approval.
Right,
Okay.
that's right.
And, Mr. Chairman, you're speaking about a block wall that was next to a property
No,
where they couldn't install the fence properly, so they had to face the good side facing in.
no, there was another instance where there was trees and stuff in the way or something. A gentleman came in, I don't remember his name. It was a while ago. Yeah, but I don't remember that particular one, but the one I'm thinking of there wasn't a block wall involved, there was trees. But again, it may be 6 of one, half dozen another, because you have to pay $300 to hear your case. I don't know what's going to cost you to.
Well, I would, thank you for letting me know that. I mean, I would still prefer to be able to leave it the way it is.
Well, let us see if that's an option, and then at least that way you have an option to, if you want to go that route, or just turn it around. I mean, that's.
I mean, at some point, of whatever the decision is, I've already, talked to the person who is gonna do it, and, they will go and turn it around if it comes to that point,
Yeah.
but
Let's see if that option is available to you, and then that way you can make an informed decision as to what you really want to do.
so there won't be any kind of,
No, it's up to the board. Well, the suggestion I just made to them is that we table your case until the next hearing. So there'll be no fines, no nothing, the case just sits still until next hearing, until the next case. You'll have to come back. And then at that point, we'll get a report from council as to whether or not that's an option for you. If it is, then you can ask that the case be held until you hear back from the variance board. If it isn't, then we will move forward with the case just like we would have tonight,
okay.
okay? But again, the motion is made by the board, not by me. So we'll see, just sit down a couple minutes and we'll see what happens, okay? So that's my suggestion to you guys. Does anybody have any questions of the respondent?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
How hard to turn it around, and how, is that in the picture what we saw, is that all the fence, or there's
No,
more?
there's 3 sides.
Oh, 3 sides.
Full sides.
Okay, but is it hard, is it put in concrete and all that?
There's not concrete put down, but in like the poles that will go down, I don't think there's any concrete in there. To be honest with you, me personally, I don't know for sure how difficult it will be, but I mean, it'll be time consuming for them. It's 3 sides, so the full fence, they'll be turning
So
around.
if they're in 8-foot panels, they would just take them and flip them tack them onto the other side. That's,
And also, maybe,
Pretty hard.
is there an option for her to also maybe make it like it is, but put another smooth side?
Let me just stop you. That's, our job is not to present options.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Our job is not to fix the problem for her. Our job is to determine whether or not there's a violation, okay?
With your permission, I'll make a
Sure.
motion. In case number 21-2965, City versus Joan M. Brown, for the violation 12-861, subsection E, subsection 3, at 8204 Collier Place, I move we table the motion, or table the vote on the finding until next meeting on September 8th to allow or need to do some research, on the ability to change the variance,
To obtain a variance.
obtain a variance.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No nays, motion carries. So your case is now being tabled to our next meeting, which is September 8th. In the interim, the city's attorney will do some research to see whether or not going in front of the board, the variance board, is an option for you. And if it is, then fine. If it's not, then we will be proceeding forward at our next meeting, just like we would have tonight.
Okay.
Okay?
So just in a month from now, just come to this.
Yeah, so for a
same
month,
meeting.
enjoy it for a month.
Another month. That's the second Wednesday of the month.
Yeah, second Wednesday, yes, yeah. And I don't know, I can't predict the future, so I don't know what's going to happen, but from now until then, nothing happens.
I appreciate the consideration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next case, please.
Yes, I think she's gonna have to be sworn in. Ms. Ponce? You're gonna have to be sworn in. Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, or nothing but the truth?
Which case is that? Jack?
Third one.
1935.
Mr. Chair,
1935?
also as a reminder for the board, this is the case dealing with dog barking. You made a determination on the facts 2 months ago. Last month, you imposed the fine. This is a request for rehearing only on the fine aspect of this, not the actual case itself.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question procedurally. If she's coming here to ask us, rehear the fine,
Yeah, rehear.
isn't that something that would better be served as a lien reduction? Or the lien hasn't been applied?
No, we're considering her request to have that reheard as a timely rehearing under the
Okay,
code. So it's just a matter, and again, the only thing before the board is the amount of the fine that you imposed.
okay. And is someone going to remind us what that was?
I think it was
$500.
Okay, thank you.
As a one-time, irreparable, irreversible violation.
Got it. Okay. So we don't need to hear from code enforcement, right? Unless there's some extra additional information. If the respondent would like to come up to the podium and say something, you're more than welcome. State your name and address for the record, please.
Briana Nicole Ponce, 7909 Citrus Drive, Temple Terrace. I'm pretty much just looking to reduce that fine from 500, a little bit lower.
Okay.
I know 500 is the max, but,
Actually, it's not.
5,000.
5,000 is.
oh, is it?
Yes.
And there's no way to get that fine lower than $500?
Well, you're here to ask, and
Yeah.
it's up to this board whether or not they want to entertain that. It's not something a decision that I make on my own, it's a board decision. But I will tell you that, just so you know, the maximum fine could have been $5,000.
Yeah, it's just 500, especially right now, is a lot of money. So,
I ask her.
Sure.
Can you tell us why you think we should lower it from 500? Because last time we heard this last month, the woman, and I forget her name, she said that the issue was ongoing. But I don't believe you were here, so I'd like to hear your side of the story and why you think.
I mean, also, like, I know I wasn't here for that, but, like, the officers as well told me, like, oh, it's 8 or 9 p.m., so obviously, what the codes were and what I was being told were two different things as well, it wasn't like I wanted to disrupt the neighborhood, I was doing the best I could, but, I mean, not at, like, any given time was she in bed sleeping as well, and this dog woke her up. I mean, she was up with her kids, asking her kids what time it was, when the dog was barking. So I can see, if my dog was out at 3 a.m. waking her up, but that really wasn't the case either, She kind of like would just sit in her back room and I feel like wait for it. I feel like she was very aggressive. I feel like it was personal and not had anything to do too much with the dog. Like I said, I've talked to my neighbors as well. Everybody else was okay with it. This other neighbor, I'm not too sure who even, you know, I know these two, their kids play in the backyard, so I think honestly that this was, you know, a kind of, like they were a friend kind of thing. And that's why they signed, but like this lady has never talked to me, the other witness to this case. I wish she would have actually just came over and talked to me about the dog instead of doing the whole, you know, code enforcement. I wouldn't do that to any of my neighbors, you know. I did wind up setting up a camera myself just to see what was going on, because there's always two sides of the story. So I did set up a camera. I even have a video where you can see from her side of the fence where it would look like my dog is just barking at nothing. But you can see right against her fence that, yeah, my dog might have been outside using the bathroom, but somebody else was walking by with their dog as to why my dog barked. So it wasn't just like, you know, but you can't see that from out, you know, where she's at. But where I put my camera, you can see that side. So there was kind of two different sides of it, and only one side was being seen. You know, and when I did put this camera out, I guess she took it as like a threat when that wasn't the case. I was just trying to protect myself. And then she like came out. I have a recording of that too, where like she was like coming out, staring at my house, and then she was like sticking fake things on her house. So that's when I could really tell that this was malicious. This wasn't, you know, I was doing this just to protect myself and see what is going on. When Marley is barking, what's going on that, you know, that maybe she couldn't see herself. And I did catch it, that there was people walking their dogs, but they're sat right against her fence. So when you're outside, you know, in her back room, over her fence, you can't see what's going on right here. But it wasn't like my dog was just barking at thin air. There was people and stuff out there.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Are you done?
For now, yeah.
Okay. What, you said you try to take care of it. What have you done between a couple months ago and now to try to minimize the dog barking?
Well, you know, they said, she suggested, or you guys as well, said to move the doggy door to the other side. It's not possible. Like, the doggy door can only go one side. There's a lock on my other sliding glass door. So it can't actually go, you know, the doggy door can't slide into the door the way it has to. So I can't change the doggy door. What I do is I try to close it. Like, if I'm not home, I close the door. And because of that, he's been so used to it since 2013 to 21, almost 8 years. Now, like, there's times that he's pissing on my kitchen floor and stuff now. So now he's starting to ruin my flooring and stuff, which is going to cost me money, which it is what it is, but, you know, I mean, I've tried, but.
Any other questions for these? Go ahead.
I recall, when we considered that fine, we went to the minimum, by the way.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we looked at also, you know, the timing.
Yeah.
Which is after midnight, which is most of it, and the loss of sleep and all that on that lady. It's we could not. There's no price on that, but we went to the very bare minimum. So I was hoping. I was one of, from the original time, I was hoping things will just, you know, she'll come back and say he only parked twice maybe or something. But it was more than 10 times, 10 times.
Yeah.
So it's, and we, I tried to push to less than that, but that's the minimum we could.
Alan, you had a question?
I wasn't here for that, but in general, a barking dog is one of the worst things I want to encounter at nighttime. So I rely on your judgment, and I wouldn't reduce it, but that's just in general. I wasn't here for the other.
Okay. Any other questions for the respondent? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, at this point, we will entertain a motion.
I had a question for you.
Sure.
What's the precedent in this retrying? Has it ever happened in your past on this?
No.
Right, yeah, it's kind of like that.
It hasn't, but quite frankly, we don't, you know, in my tenure on this particular position, which goes back 12 years, I can remember one other dog case, and that one actually remedied itself. Tom, can you remember any other dog?
There was one,
We've
Yeah.
had a couple.
there was one on Overlook Drive,
Yeah.
his name was Lopez. the other one was on, South Glen Harbor.
Okay.
Both of those cases.
Yeah.
But it didn't go to this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it didn't, so the dog cases, in and of themselves, noise cases in general, and more specifically dog barking cases are few and far between. So there really is not a precedent. My suggestion to you all is to, either you make a motion or don't make a motion. I mean, if you don't make a motion, then the fine does not get reduced.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that you carry forward with what you had decided previously and assess the fine of 500.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the motion was to hold up the original fine of $500. That motion has passed. So there will be no reduction in the fine.
One thing I just thought of, I know in the past, we've worked with people as far as payments. If that's true, I believe that's true.
It is?
Maybe that's an option she could discuss
Yeah,
with
that's
the
a-
city.
Yeah, that's something
With
they,
the city clerk?
yeah, she can discuss that with, I'm not sure, you can start with Tom and maybe go from there.
She would have to get a hold of the clerk's office.
Clerk's office? Okay. So you can get a hold of clerk's office and possibly set up a payment plan, okay? Next case, please.
Next case, we're gonna go right from the beginning now. It's gonna be case number 21-1080, City versus Boston Market Real Estate Company for the property located at 5501 East Fowler Avenue. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of section 8-102-13H, windows and exterior doors maintained in good repair. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Code Compliance Officer Lori Smith. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. Lori Smith, Code Compliance. This case originated from Director Baroni. My inspection on March the 4th, 2021 revealed the drive-through awning in disrepair. At that time, I left a door hanger with the reinspection date of March 19th, 2021. I spoke with the store manager that day who stated the damage was sustained by a customer and he asked for additional time to allow for processing the insurance claim. My inspection on June 25th, 2021 revealed no change, therefore a notice of violation was prepared with a compliance date of July the 12th, 2021. Affidavit of service was obtained on the general manager, Rich Pacell. My inspection on July the 23rd, 2021 revealed no change. At this time, I would like to submit photographic evidence that was taken by me on the 30th of June, 2021 showing the violations. Exhibit 1 shows the drive-through awning in disrepair.
We'll accept those, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, as of today's date, the site is now in compliance, and at this time, I'd like to submit an affidavit of compliance. I'm just looking for a finding.
Thank you, we'll accept that. Any questions for the code officer? I have a question,
Yes, sir.
entirely irrelevant to the case. But how does someone damage the top of an awning from a car? Did he give you any clue how that happened?
No, sir, he did not.
Okay.
I would think that it would have to be a large vehicle, construction type of vehicle.
Yeah, but it's the top that's damaged, not the bottom.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, I'm just curious.
Want the security video of that?
Okay, so at this point, we're looking for a motion.
I would like to make a
Thank you.
in case number 2100001080, I move that the city has proven by the greater weight of evidence the following violation of the city Temple Terrace City Code did exist on the property located at 5501 East Fowler Avenue, with violation section 8-102 subsection 13 subsection H. This motion is based on the sworn testimony this board has received from Code Enforcement Officer along with any other evidence, including photos, affidavit, and the notice of violation, all of which is received and entered as part of this record, this hearing. I further move that there be no fine imposed because the violation were brought into compliance prior to the date of this hearing.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Motion carries unanimously. Next case, please.
Next case is case number 21-1335, City versus Temple Terrace Associates LLC, for the property located at 110 Bullard Parkway. The case is before the board based on an alleged violation of Section 12-1047, landscape maintenance. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Code Compliance Officer Doug Allen. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Doug Allen, Code Compliance Officer. This case was originated by me on May 19th, 2021 for a commercial landscape violation of dead shrubbery and a perimeter hedge. I prepared a notice of violation on that date with a reinspection date of June the 4th, 2021. I posted the notice at the site and copies were mailed, both certified and regular mail, to the address of the owner of record. I contacted the property manager as well and informed them of what was needed to bring the site into compliance. New shrubbery was installed at the site but did not survive due to an irrigation problem. I made contact with the property manager again to make them aware that the site was also again out of compliance. Their landscape contractor contacted me asking for an extension, which I granted. My re-inspection on July 29th showed no change, so a notice of hearing was prepared and the case was scheduled for the August Municipal Code Board meeting. This time I'd like to submit photographic evidence taken by myself on July 29th, 2021.
Accept that. Thank you.
Exhibit number 1 shows dead shrubs. Exhibit number 2 also shows dead shrubbery. The site is now in compliance, and I would like to submit an affidavit of compliance and seeking a finding.
Very good. We'll accept that. Thank you. Any questions for the code officer?
Did say it was in.
It is in compliance, yes. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead.
Thank you.
In case number 21-1335, I move the city is proven by a greater weight of the evidence of the following violations of the City of Temple Terrace Code did exist on the property located at 110 Bullard Parkway. Applicable code sections 12-1047. This motion is based on the sworn testimony this board has received from code enforcement. The code enforcement officer, along with any other evidence, including photos, affidavits, and the notice of violation, all of which is received and entered as part of the record of this hearing. I further move there be no fine imposed because the violations were brought into compliance prior to the date of this hearing.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Motion carries unanimously. Next case, please.
Next case is case number 21-2014, City versus Rycal Construction LLC, for the property located at 823 East River Drive. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of Section 8-28A1. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Code Compliance Officer Jose Silva. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Jose Silva, Code Compliance Officer. This case originated April 27, 2021. My inspection at the time noted a 30-yard dumpster in the driveway of the residence and interior remodeling occurring without a permit. This time I posted a red tag stop work order at the residence. On May 20th, 2021, I contacted Community Development and learned no permits had been pulled for the work occurring at the residence. This time I completed notice of violation with a compliance date of June 20, 2021. I posted notice at the home as well as City Hall, also mailed copies both certified and regular mail to the address of the registered owner and agent. On July 19th, I again checked with Community Development and no permits were pulled. At this time, I set the case for the MCEB. I'd like to submit a photographic evidence of the notice posted at the front door.
We'll accept that. Thank you.
As of this afternoon, it's in plan check, but no permit has been pulled yet until the plans go through and get approved.
Okay.
So it's in the process. So I'm asking for a finding.
Okay. Very good. Any questions?
Yeah, I assume they complied with the stop work order.
Yes. As soon as they got it, they moved the dumpster out of the driveway and took it away, and there's been no work occurring at the residence.
Any other questions? This time I entertain a motion.
I'm unfamiliar with the status that it's in. Is it complied or not?
It's not in compliance.
yet.
Not in compliance with the process has
Yeah,
started?
In permit cases, it's not, the compliance is obtained when you obtain the permit.
Got it. So we're gonna go with
They
existing.
submitted plans for the work that they're doing, so they're waiting for the plans to be approved by community development. Once those are approved, the permit will be issued then for those plans.
But technically, as of we sit right here today, it's not in compliance.
All right, yeah, I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
In case number 21-2014, I move that the city has proven by a greater weight of the evidence the following violations of the city Temple Terrace code existed on the property located at 823 East River Drive. Applicable code violations were 8-28 subsection A, subsection 1. This motion is based on the sworn testimony this board has received from the code enforcement officer along with any other evidence, photos, affidavits, and notice of violations, all of which is received and entered as part of the record of this hearing. I further move that said violations be corrected by September 8th. If the respondent does not comply with this order on or before that day, they are ordered to pay a fine for each and every day the violations continue past the date set for compliance. Upon considering the following factors: the gravity of the violation, any actions taken by the violator to correct the violation, and any previous violations committed by the violator, I move that the fine be $25 a day.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next case, please.
Next case is case number 21-2844, City versus Maximum Home Holdings LLC for the property located at 5404 River Hills Drive. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of Section 12-901, Pools, Duty to Maintain, and Section 12-9005, Pools, Gates, Locks. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Code Compliance Officer Jose Silva. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Thank you.
Good afternoon again. Jose Silva, Co-Compliance Officer. This case originated practically on June 8, 2021. My inspection at the time noted the water of the pool to be green and unsanitary. The rear gate to the yard was open and unsecured. At this time, I completed notice of violation with a compliance date of June 18, 2021. I posted the notice at the rear gate as well as City Hall. I also mailed copies, both certified and regular mail, to the address of the registered owner and sent a copy of the notice of violation via email to the agent. On June 9th, I received an email from the representative indicating they were aware of the problem and attempting to fix it. On July 8th, on June 21st, in 2021, I inspected the pool and noted the water to be clear and the rear gate shut. So at this time, I closed the case. On July 8th, as I was driving by, I observed the pool water again to be green and unsanitary, along with the rear yard gate open. This time, I'd like to submit 6 photographs.
I'll accept those, thank you.
Number 1 is the notice posted at the rear gate. 2 to 3 is the July 8th when I inspected the pool. It was green and unsanitary and the gate unsecured. 13, 4 and 5 were the green on July 13th were the green unsanitary pool and the gate open. And on Exhibit 6 with the pool water green and unsanitary on July 20, 2021.
Thank you. Any questions for the code officer? Yes.
So when you say the gate's unsecured, you're talking about the front gate into the driveway?
That's the rear gate, the rear yard gate.
Oh, that's a rear,
These are the homes on River Hills just west of 56th Street that have the double lot that comes back to Ridgedale or Ridgeway. So this is the rear yard driving down the street.
so that's the fence the safety fence that encloses
Yes, sir.
the pool, that's part of it.
No pool enclosure, so it's the gate has,
Gate.
Gate is the protection.
the gate is, the fence is the safety barrier.
Got it.
How, first it was everything was clear, and then how long after that it became green again? How long?
When I first observed it in June 8th, the pool was unsanitary. given the notice of violation. On June 9th, I received an email from the representative that they were taking care of the problem. On June 21st, when I inspected the pool was clear and the gate was closed. On July 8th, I observed the pool again unsanitary and the rear gate open.
Just curious, is the property occupied? It's a
Yes, it's a rental.
rental, looks like.
As of today's date, it's got partial compliance, the pool is nice and clear, but the gate was left open this afternoon as I drove by. So I'd like to submit an affidavit of compliance for this clean pool.
Okay, thank you, we'll accept that. But it's only one section, oh, it's two sections, I'm sorry. Yeah, 901 and, so 901 is in compliance and 905 is not. 900 subsection 5.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm asking for a finding on that.
Any other questions for the code officer?
I do. So is the essence of the section, you know, that if you have a pool, you have to have a gate? Is this a residential requirement for all?
Safety barrier. And the safety barrier could be the yard fence or a screen enclosure around the pool. So you have to have a
Yeah.
safety barrier. This gate is open to the street and there's a sidewalk that runs right there in front of the gate. So anybody, a small child, can wander into the rear yard and fall into the pool.
Yeah, I mean, they could do the same to a street, but we don't have gates all around streets. I just think, I think it's an odd, you know, that's not why we're here, but I don't know how much to fine somebody for having their gate open.
You're considered an attractive nuisance, and even in
Yeah.
insurance, we would reject insurance or cancel non-renew for it.
Yeah, and if they had, it wouldn't be an issue if they had a pool enclosure.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah,
If they had a pool enclosure with a door on the enclosure, and even if you have a pool enclosure, there's new rules that you have to raise the handle on the door.
yeah,
So the problem is they have no enclosure. So the only safety feature that this pool has is the fence and the gate. If the gate is open, it's not safe.
I think it's pretty dangerous. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, a little kid could wander in, fall in the pool. I mean,
That's all.
I can't think of anything worse than that, something like that.
Any questions for the code officer?
So actually the gate, you think it's left intentionally, or they just keep neglecting it?
It's rental, it's a tenant
Yeah.
rental.
Oh.
They close it sometimes, they leave it open. Today it was left open.
Okay.
Have you talked to the tenant at all, or just
The agent, because the agent's responsible for the property.
he was asking.
Oh, sorry.
It was me, right in
Yeah.
the middle, in between them. That was me who was asking. So you've only talked to the agent. You haven't talked to the tenant at all, or
I've talked to the agent, there's no trespassing signs on the property, so I don't even go up to the front door.
fair enough.
So a reasonable resolution would be, they only have the gate open when they're moving their car in and out, and they close it. That's
Close the gate.
fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll be fine.
All right.
Any other questions for the code officer? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Let me attempt that.
Thank you.
In case number 21-0002844, I move that the city has proven by the greater weight of evidence the following violation of the City of Temple Terrace City Code exists on the property located at 5404 River Hills Drive, and the violation of code number 12-901 and 12-900 subsection 5 existed. This motion is based on the sworn testimony this board has received from the code enforcement officer, along with all other evidence, including photos, affidavit, and the notice of violation, all of which is received and entered as part of the record of this hearing. I further move that there will be no fine imposed for the violation of the code section 12-901 because the violation were brought into compliance prior to the date of this hearing. I further move that the remaining violation be corrected on before September 8th, 2021. If the respondent does not comply with this order or on or before the day they are ordered to pay a fine each and every day the violation continues past the date set for the compliance. Upon considering the following factors, the gravity of the violation, any action taken by the violator to correct the violation, and any previous violation committed by the violator, I move the fine be $25 per day.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any further discussion?
I guess I just gotta say one thing. I know in the past when there's situations where there's public safety involved, which I would consider this to be public safety, any child could walk in there and fall in that pool, that we've assessed fines greater than $25. I'm not saying that we have to in this case, because it sounds like it's an intermittent type problem, but still, sometimes we've gone as high as $100 a day. So that's just my 2 cents.
My line of thinking is the same. I think it should be higher than 25. I would recommend like 50, at least.
I have no problem with that. I thought about public safety, but because it's not a repeated violation, and it seems to me I would have, I wanted this agent to be taking charge, because he did it, he corrected it, and it seems that the gate keeps eventually opening. So that's why I consider that, but I do see your point.
The 24-hour security thing, if security is that important, shutting the gate should be important.
Yeah, I see your point, and I consider public safety is very, very important.
So it sounds like at least two of our members are requesting an amendment to the motion.
Okay.
That's,
Do I have to go through again, or just amend
you can simply amend it, and whoever seconded the first one will second the second one.
I would like to amend the motion to raise the fine for,
You can't raise a fine that we haven't.
No, okay.
Change the fine.
To change the fine to, from $25 to 75 or 50?
You're the motion maker. It's up to you.
$50 per day.
So we have an amended motion. Do we have a second? Did you second the first one?
No, you did not.
Who seconded the first one?
I did, I second.
Oh, you seconded?
Okay,
Oh, you did.
all right,
Sorry.
then, that's fine, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One nay, motion carries. Next case, please.
Next case is case number 21-2977, City versus Mark T. Harrison and Lori R. Harrison for the property located at 305 Bannockburn Avenue. The case is before the board based on an alleged violation of Section 8-10213B, exterior wall, maintain in good repair. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Code Compliance Officer Doug Allen. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman and board members. Doug Allen, Code Compliance Officer. This case was originated by me on June 15th, 2021 for a stained exterior wall. I left a door hanger with a reinspection date of June 29th, 2021. My reinspection on June 30th showed no changes, so a notice of violation was prepared on that date with a compliance date of July 19th. I posted the notice at the site as well as at City Hall, and copies were mailed, both certified and regular mail, to the address of the owner of record. My reinspection on June 21st showed no change, so a notice of hearing was prepared on that date, and the case was scheduled for the August Municipal Code Board meeting. This time I'd like to submit photographic evidence taken by me on June 30th, 2021. Exhibit number 1 shows the notice of violation posting. The site is in compliance, and I'd also like to submit an affidavit of compliance, and I'm seeking a finding.
Thank you, we'll accept all that. Thank you. Any questions for the code officer? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
All right, I'll take this one.
Thank you.
Okay, case number 21-2977. Move the city has proven by the greater weight of the evidence the following violations of the City of Temple Terrace Code did exist at the property located at 305 Bannockburn Avenue. The code violation section was section 8-102, subsection 13, subsection B. This motion is based on the sworn testimony this board has received from Code Enforcement Officer Doug Allen, along with any other evidence, including photos, affidavits, and notice of violation, all of which is received and entered as part of the record of this hearing. I further move that there be no fine imposed because the violations were brought into compliance prior to the date of this hearing.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Motion is second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No nays, motion carries unanimously. Next case, please.
Next case is case number 21-3579, City versus Husham Al-Kasi, for the property located at 10381 Council's Way. The case is before the board based on an alleged violation of Section 8-102 14A, fences maintained in good repair. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Code Compliance Officer Doug Allen. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman and board members. Doug Allen, Code Compliance Officer. This case was originated by me on July 2nd, 2021 for a wooden privacy fence in need of repair. I left a door hanger at the site with a reinspection date of July 12th. My reinspection on July 13th showed no change, so a notice of violation was created on that date with a reinspection date of July 28th. I posted the notice on the site, and the notice was also posted at City Hall, and copies were mailed, both certified and regular mail, to the address of the owner of record. My reinspection on July 29th showed no change, so a notice of hearing is prepared on that date, and the case was scheduled for the August Municipal Code Board meeting. I met with the property owner to advise them of what was required for the site to be in compliance. This time I'd like to submit photographic evidence of the site taken by myself on July 13th and July 29th, 2021.
We'll accept those. Thank you.
Exhibit number 1 shows the notice of violation posting, and exhibit number 2 shows the fence in disrepair. The site is in compliance as the damaged slats have been removed, and I'm seeking a finding.
Thank you. Any questions for the code officer? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
In case number 21-3579, I move that the city has proven by greater weight of the evidence the following violations of the City of Temple Terrace City Code did exist on the property located at 10381 Council's Way, in violation of Section 8-102 14A. This motion is based on the sworn testimony this board has received from the code enforcement officer, along with other evidence, including photos, affidavits, and the nature and the notice of violation, all of which is received and entered as part of the record of this hearing. I further move that there be no fine imposed because of violations were brought into compliance prior to the date of this hearing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Motion carries unanimously. Next case, please.
Next case is a repeat case, case number 213683, City versus Janice Miller III LLC, for the property located at 12702 North 53rd Street. The case is before the board based on an alleged violation of Section 10-3B, sanitation, grass, weeds, and Section 12-1055, site visibility triangle. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Code Compliance Officer Lori Smith. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, board members. Lori Smith, Code Compliance. This is a notice of repeat violation. One case was presented to the board on October the 9th, 2019, MCEB number 194518, and the other was presented on September the 9th, 2020, MCEB 20-3687. The board found a violation did occur, and the property was brought into compliance on December the 31st, 2019. But did accrue a lien in the amount of $2,350 for the site visibility triangle, which has not been paid as of today's date. On July the 12th, 2021, my inspection noted overgrown hedges at the corner of North 53rd Street and East 127th Avenue, causing right-of-way obstruction and overgrown grass and weeds in the yard and on the city right-of-way. At that time, I issued 2 door hangers with the compliance dated July the 13th, 2021. My inspection on July the 13th, 2021 revealed no change, therefore a notice of repeat violation was issued. No one was at home, so I posted the notice letter at the front door and requested copies be sent certified in first class to the owner of record. I also requested a copy be posted at City Hall for the 10-day requirement. At this time, I would like to submit photographic evidence of the violation taken by me on July the 12th, 2021, and a copy of the MCEB ruling 1945-18 and MCEB ruling 20-3687.
Thank you. We'll accept those.
Chairman, Exhibit 1 shows the repeat notice letter posted at the front door. Exhibit 2 shows the hedges impairing the visibility at the intersection on North 53rd Street. Exhibit 3 shows the hedges obstructing the view on East 127th Avenue and North 53rd Street. Exhibit 4 shows overgrown grass and weeds. As of today's date, the site has been brought into compliance, and at this time, I would like to submit an affidavit of compliance. However, Mr. Chairman, I'm seeking a ruling for the 13 days the property remained out of compliance for the site visibility triangle and the overgrown grass. The last fine was $75 a day for both violations. At $100 a day for both repeat violations, the cost would be $1,300. Seeking a ruling.
Thank you. Any other questions for the code officer?
So $100, that's your recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because it was 75 and now you're saying.
Yes, sir. It was 75 when you guys made that decision the last meeting.
For the original violation, this is the.
Correct.
Right, got you.
Mr. Chairman, may I go ahead and submit the?
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, can we ask a question?
Is there any other questions for the code officer?
I have some.
Yes.
Rod can go first.
Did you have a question for the code officer?
Oh, no.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, threw me off there. What were the original dates that we heard this? You said, I didn't recall this one, and the $75, and I saw in the beginning you had two
You guys
dates.
assessed a $25 fee for the grass
Okay.
violation, and $50 was assessed for the site visibility.
And what was the date of that?
Um,
It was us, like, within this last year or so?
well, one case was heard in
December.
19, another one was heard in 20.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the original case was October of 2019, and then it was heard again in September of 2020, a little less than a year later. That particular property was then brought into compliance in December.
And there's a total amount that wasn't paid, you said. The original, do we know that amount now?
Yes, I obtained the information from the city clerk's office. That's $2,350 that is still outstanding.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Oh, had you spoken to the gentleman and anything else other than, I know it's in compliance with the exception of the one item. Does he have an intention of paying that, or?
I really could not tell you. I just know that it's been a struggle since I've been here with Temple Terrace to keep the grass mowed at the
Yeah.
property. With the bushes getting very, very high and the site visibility triangle, it's a very dangerous
Yeah.
intersection right there. I've got many residents that live in that zone that, they're apprehensive of coming to that corner right there just for that very, very reason.
Okay.
Yes, the hedges have been all cut down, the debris, yes, sir.
So your recommendation was 1,300, right?
That is correct.
Sorry for all the questions. I just wrapped my head around this. And the one that was in compliance was the $25 one. The one that's not in compliance was the one we assigned $50 to, right?
That is correct.
So would we not do
Site
50
visibility triangle,
times?
That's where the amount of $2,350 came in because they didn't bring it into compliance by our next board meeting. So they were assessed a
Okay.
fine for the site visibility triangle. They did come into compliance, but they had accrued the fine.
On both?
Yes, on.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Like I said, last time it was 75, it was $25 for the grass, $50 for the site visibility. I'm just asking, this time being that it's a repeat violation, $100 a day for repeat violations, for both violations.
Any other questions for the code officer?
Thank you, Lori.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
All right, I'll do it. In case number 21-3683, I move that the city has proven by the greater weight of evidence the following violations of the City of Temple Terrace Code exist on the property located at 12702 North 53rd Street. And the code violation sections are,
3B.
10-3 subsection B, and 12-1055. This motion is based on the sworn testimony this board has received from the code enforcement officer, Lori Smith, along with any other evidence, including photos, affidavits, and a notice of violation, all of which is received and entered as part of the record of this hearing. I further move that the respondent be found to be a repeat violator as defined by City Code Section 1-63 because the respondent has been found to have violated the same provision of the city code within the previous 5 years, regardless of the property address. I further move that the daily fine, well, actually not a daily fine, but a lump sum fine be assessed for the repeat violations from the time the notice of the repeat violations until the time the repeat violations are corrected. Upon considering the following factors, the gravity of the violation, the actions taken by the violator to correct the violation, and any previous violations committed by the violator, I move that the fine be, I guess it is $100 per day for a total of 13 days, so for a total fine of $1,300.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion is second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No nays, motion carries unanimously. Next case, please.
Next case is going to be repeat case number 21-3684, City versus Christopher Thomas and Lawrence Power for the property located at 508 Herschel Drive. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of Section 10-34, sanitation, keep premises clean. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Code Compliance Director Tom Baroni. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Thank you.
Good evening, Tom Baroni, Code Compliance. This case this evening is a repeat violation case that was originally presented to the Code Board back in April 14th, 2021 by me in case number 21-0179, where the respondent was found in violation of a cluttered carport. The board gave the respondent 30 days to bring the property into compliance, or a $25 per day fine would accrue. The violation was brought into compliance prior to the reinspection date of May 13th. The case was then closed. On July 8th, 2021, I was advised by the Temple Terrace Police Department that the carport once again was cluttered with debris. My visit on July 12th, 2021 noted that the carport was cluttered and a photo was taken by me at that time. Later that day, I prepared a notice of repeat violation and posted the notice letter at the side door on July 13th, 2021. And 2 photos were taken at that time, one showing the posting of the notice and the other one was again the carport. I also requested copies be sent out certified in first-class mail. I also requested a copy to be posted at City Hall for the 10-day requirement. I revisited the property on July 27th, 2021, and still noted that the carport still remained cluttered. At this time, I would like to submit the order in case number 21-0179 and 4 other photos showing the carport cluttered that was taken by me on July 12th, the 13th, the 27th, and today's date. I'd like to submit it
Okay, we'll accept those, thank you. Any questions for the code officer? Go ahead.
As of today's date, the property still remains out of compliance. The carport has been cluttered from July 12th to August 11th, today's date, totaling 31 days. If the board chooses to pick a fine of $25 per day, that would be $775. If you choose to pick $50 per day, that would be $1,550. If you choose $75 a day, that would be $2,300.
I love that. You should do that every time. I have to do any math.
And again, it remains out of compliance.
So that's, I do have a question if I could.
Go ahead.
So,
It's not going to be a lump sum and then,
if it's,
Fine from the day you observed it.
that's true.
so if it's out of compliance, do we assess a daily fine, or are we doing that's what I'm.
Well, that's what I was just telling Tom, is since it's still active, it's if you make the finding that it's a repeat violation, it'll just be a daily fine. that would run from July
12th.
Well,
12th.
until
Yes,
it still
is what I
comes into
was
Till it
compliance.
comes in compliance, right?
Right,
Yeah, so you don't have to,
and there'll be no date for
right,
compliance.
so you don't have to do the math. All you gotta do is come up with a daily rate.
My apologies. Thank you.
But
I have a question.
But
Do
you're-
they have
you're-
any attempt?
your mathematic prowess is appreciated.
Yeah.
I like him. Did they have any attempt to clean it, or? are they
At the
aware?
last hearing, when I presented it, Mr. Powers was here, and we had a small dialogue then. He cleaned it up quite a bit. I haven't had a dialogue with him this time around, so he has not called me to have a conversation about the.
He's still there and still living at the house.
Yeah, there's occupants inside there.
Okay, any other questions for the code officer? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for this repeat violation.
You want Tim?
Okay,
I'll do it.
thank you.
In case number 21-000-3684, I move the city has proven by the greater weight of evidence the following violation of the City Temple Terrace code exists on the property located at 508 Herschel Drive with applicable codes 10-34 sanitation premises clean. This motion is based on the sworn testimony this board has received from the code enforcement officer, Tom Peroni, along with any other evidence, including photos, affidavit, and the notice of violation, all of which is received and entered as part of the record of this hearing. I further move that the respondent to be found to be repeat violator as defined by City Code Section 1-63, because the respondent has been found to have violated the same provision of the City Code within the previous 5 years, regardless of the property address. I further move that the daily fine be assessed for the repeat violations from the time of notice of the repeat violation until the time the repeat violations are corrected. Upon considering the following factors: the gravity of the violation, any actions taken by the violator to correct the violations, any provisions, any previous violations committed by the violator, I move that the fine be $50 per day.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Just a question on the reasoning for the $50. You just feel like $25 didn't work, and so we're gonna go with 50?
Yes, it's because it's repeated violation.
Okay.
If you know, it's gonna be different than just a first-time violator. Can't equate them to each other.
Taking all things into consideration, if Bill, if what you were asking him was, would he go 25, I would do 25. I wasn't sure if you were asking him because you wanted more or less.
Less, I mean.
Yeah, that was kind of my.
Cluttered carport.
Yeah. And these things kind of snowball so fast, and
Get it up once.
Yes, that's why I asked Tom.
I would
if he
remind you that
attempted
he's
to
had,
clean it.
Yeah.
What was the last date? Hang on a second, make sure I get my dates right. So it's May 13th, he's had since May 13th to attempt to clean it up.
And there's been no dialogue.
And there's been no dialogue, and there's been no progress.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I supported the $50, because there hasn't been any conversation, and there's been no efforts to
That's why,
improve.
I asked Tom if he at least put some attempt. I would have looked at it even as not a repeated violation, even though it is.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No nays, motion carries. Next case. Oh, we're done.
No, we're done.
Okay, on to unfinished business.
Unfinished business, case number 20-5670, City versus Abdul Hussein Sharbani for the property located at 332 Sunnyside Road. The deadline for compliance is tonight at midnight. Case number 21-0070, City versus A&T Hospitality Tampa LLC for the property located at 13294 Telecom Drive. The deadline for compliance is tonight at midnight. Case number 21-0685, City versus Nahad Darwish for the property located at 6319 East 113th Avenue. The deadline for compliance is tonight at midnight. Case number 21-0786, City versus James L. Evans and Joyce A.G. Evans for the property located at 11305 East Queensway Drive. The deadline for compliance is September 8th, 2021. Case number 21-0928, City versus Edgar D. Ziegler and Perla V. Ziegler for the property located at 9228 Overlook Drive. The deadline for compliance is tonight at midnight. Case number 21-1177, City versus Nicholas Drew Teeling and Rachel Teeling for the property located at 716 Druid Hills Road. The deadline for compliance is tonight at midnight. And case number 21-1543, City versus Pamela Ray Brown for the property located at 325 Brentwood Drive. The deadline for compliance is tonight at midnight. And I actually, yeah, there is an affidavit of compliance for that one.
Okay.
And I do have one that is not on the agenda. Case number 20-5509, Ron Moggerman TT Holdings LLC. He did come into compliance on July 28th of 2021.
Great. Any other board action? We have no lien reduction petitions. But I do have one item under new business. If anybody else has any new business, certainly I'll defer to you first.
I have one, just
Go ahead.
generic comment. I just would highly advise everybody on the board to watch the last city council meeting where they discussed the lien reduction that we had. Yeah, I don't remember the address. The one where we compromised on $3,000 for the lien reduction, and it's a very good discussion on the pros and cons of lien reductions and how the city ordinances work, and I just think it's well worth watching.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to discuss. Is at the last hearing, I actually thought, in fact, I told the city planner that he was coming after me. I said, "Yeah, you'll be out of here tonight. It's going to be fast." It didn't turn out to be fast. So like he said, it was a really good discussion on lien reductions and, kind of see where the council was lying, where they kind of were falling. The point was made that your motion for $3,000 was more than city cost. I think city cost was $1,200 or something like that. But there was some discussion about why didn't we just accept Tom's suggestion of 10%, and the whole history of how the 10% came, and that it's really a guide. It's a starting point for your deliberations and your discussions. I will say historically, whoever the code enforcement officer is, we normally do take their recommendation, simply because, as I've said before, there is nobody in this room that is closer to any individual case than a code officer. They live, eat, and breathe it, and so they know all the ins and outs, and they know the what's happening with the 5 things that we're supposed to consider better than we do, because they live it. We're making decisions based on the evidence presented to us at the evening of the hearing. So historically, we have accepted the recommendations of the code officer, and unless there's compelling evidence or compelling reasons to do otherwise, it's not a bad place to be. In this particular case, you all decided that $3,000 was fine. Ultimately, it did get approved by city council. There was some discussion, and the reason ultimately I believe it got approved was because the $3,000 was more than, almost triple the city cost. So. Absolutely, Tom.
Since we're talking about this subject, I just want to voice. I've been with the city for 14 years, and I've seen a lot of lien reductions done. Just so you have a kind of like a base, I would say 90% of the lien reductions was always around 10%. There are some times when we've gone down to 0. And usually that's very rare. I know 2 cases that we've done that. And those reasons were either they were elderly or they were financially had no money. So when I've done lien reduction presentations and I reduced it down to city cost, in the applications what I read from the respondent was financial hardship, COVID-19, are many reasons why I brought it down to city cost. So normally, like I said, I try to go 10%, like the chairman just said, it's a starting point. So I look at the application, I looked at how many cases were at the property. There's a lot of factors I look into. So it's not just a 10% and that's it. It's not usually the way it is. I read the application. But I just want to kind of give you, what I do is I look at everything overall. And I just want you to know that, but in the past 14 years, 90% of the time, it's always been 10%. There have been properties on Roland Ridge, I stood here when we got 40% of the lien reduction, because there was a lot of things that were going on. We had a rental property on West Street, where there was tenants there was exposed electrical wires. We reduced that, we made it down to 40% of the lien. So not always it's 10%. There are some times when I go well above that. It depends on the nature of the violation. So I just want to throw that.
Thank you, Tom, and that's great. Thank you for bringing that up. But again, just to summarize it, that's why I keep saying that, you know, when the code officer, whoever it is, comes to us with a recommendation, you know, they put some thought into it, and like I said, there's nobody in this room that knows more about a particular case than the code officer. Not us, not the city attorney, nobody, because they've lived the violation. So when they make a recommendation, you know, certainly we should give it some credit, some credence, some value, and if there is a reason to do something different, then, you know, I would hope that you would express that reason, and we would move on. So that's all I wanted to say. If anybody has any comments or questions, now's the time.
I was there with you, and I see it's the importance of being there, and I like the discussion that we have. And I also saw each case in the future. That's how I'm looking at it myself. Each case is going to be different, and I know they mentioned there is no ruling on the 10%, but I look forward encouraging more correcting of those violations. And we treated that case really well, because I felt like this guy who did something good for the city, we encourage him to go further and do more work and correction of those.
It's a fine line. I mean, your role here is to make decisions based on the uniqueness of the facts of each case, but also to be consistent in your rulings. And that's sounds like it's an oxymoron, but it's not. So, but you know, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. And, yes, sir.
I was unclear about the 10%. Is that reducing it down to 10%?
Yeah,
10% reduction.
No. Down to in the case I'm speaking of, the original fine was $65,000 round numbers. The suggestion the recommendation of the code officer was 10% or $6,500. The ultimate motion that passed was $3,000. The city costs in that particular case were about $1,200.
You went from 65,000 to 6,500.
Right. To 3,000.
3,000.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, and again, the other thing that I say over and over again, and I think I said it 5 times at the code meeting, at the council meeting, you know, we are not here to be a revenue stream for the city. We are here to help bring compliance to code violations within the city, but at the same time, you know, those 5 factors that Ernie so nicely put up for us to look at, and maybe you can bring them back next time, are the things that we have to consider in each case. And it's, you know, it's not about the revenues per se, but certainly, the revenue, ultimately, that's all we have. The only tool we have is the revenue.
I disagree with that sentiment, because it a little bit. It's just semantics, but no, it's not a revenue stream, of course not. But it's code compliance. That's what this whole thing is for. And sometimes when they're so small, it's just, I think it's a giant waste of our time, their time, the city's time. The residents who have to put up with things that aren't right. I think that we should go with, you know, what the code, the officers suggest most of the time, and go with it. because otherwise you get what I said. No, it's not a revenue stream, but it's a deterrent.
Well,
And
yeah.
if it's so small that it doesn't mean very much, then I think it's a waste of our time, their time, and it doesn't serve the people well.
No, I get it, and, certainly we should always strive to recoup, the city costs at a minimum.
No, it's more than that, in my opinion. That's
Yeah.
just my opinion.
You're right.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying that as a minimum, we should strive that, it's not, one of the other things that, the way I try to explain it to people is, if there's a violation out there and we're not collecting city costs, then every citizen in Temple Terrace is subsidizing that particular person's violation. And that's not fair either. So,
And I wanted to mention too, within like, any applicant for lien reduction, he has 30 days, and we wanted to also balance things, 30 days to pay this much amount or this amount. I'd rather see it not go back to the original amount, which is gonna be very, very hard, and the problem is.
It's not an easy job for you guys, but,
If it makes you feel any better, half the people on the board wanted the higher number, the 10%, so.
David had to break the
Wasn't,
tie.
it wasn't a,
That's right.
it wasn't a unanimous decision.
I broke the tie, and it was a 2-2 vote. Half of them,
3-3.
or 3-3, whatever it was. It was a tie vote, and I broke the tie, and, I'll tell you the same thing I told the council was, I broke the tie because I felt that it was, I saw where the vote was going, and $3,000 to me seemed reasonable. Certainly, I could have supported a higher number, but the $3,000 was more than city cost. It was much more than city cost, and we had to me it was, given the circumstance and the way the vote went, it seemed like the fairest thing to do.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't doubt that whatsoever. I don't even know what case that is anyway, that particular case. I was just talking in general.
Yeah, I know, I understand.
Seriously recommend you take 30 minutes of your time, watch the city council meeting, and starting at like the hour, at 1 hour, I believe.
At the top of the hour, yeah.
Go back to the actual
I don't
case.
currently have any strong
It's
pain
really-
killers at home, so maybe I better.
It went really well, and David handled it correct.
gives you the-
Good.
It gives you what the city council feels about lien reduction. Well, David already said all that, but it's good. It was worth watching.
They did, I watched every council meeting, but, they did echo that they support us. I think James specifically said he voted the way he did because he trusts our opinion and didn't want to go against us. So, these decisions are hard, and we have, some of them are anyway, and, I know we all put a lot of thought into, I know I do, a lot of the decisions we make. With as far as the 3 items that we're supposed to choose from, like we say that there's the 3 items, but really this is it's not just those 3 items. Like we just said, we lowered a lien down to 0 because somebody didn't have any money. So that right there is, taking a huge factor and whether that's right or not, there are other things that come into play than those 3 items, and that's why it's so hard.
Yeah, well.
We went below the,
Right.
that gentleman, we went below the city cost because, and he was even happy to pay that cost, but,
Yeah, I want us to be compassionate. That's why I wanted to be on this board. But it doesn't say on there, the gravity of the violation, the age of the violator, and how much money they have. So it's hard.
Oh, it is hard, and then the other thing that since we're on the subject, the other thing that we all have to keep in mind is, everybody walks in this room with the same stature. There is no differentiation between respondents. They're all the same. Okay, did they commit a violation or not? It doesn't matter if it's your neighbor, your brother, your sister, whether they're a corporation or an individual. They all walk into this room with the same stature.
Yeah, and I get what you're referencing there, and I just wanted to clarify that the way I voted was not because the gentleman was a business. It was because I know businesses take things like fines into consideration, as Annette Rennie, as a real estate agent, attested to. He said to the council during that meeting, Gil asked if he knew that the fine was on there, and he said he didn't know, but I didn't believe him, and that's just me.
I don't either.
So For me, I think he negotiated that, and not to go through all these facts, but
Buyer beware.
The gentleman did lie.
yes,
He put this-
absolutely.
Leah,
I
let's,
just
like to cut the.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
just wanted to say.
Yeah, let's,
That's enough of the specifics. But anyway.
Since you brought it up, David, I just wanted to.
No, I get it. No, I get it.
I just wanted to say that I personally would never vote a certain way because someone's a business or because
I didn't
someone's.
accuse anybody of
Yeah.
doing that. I'm just saying.
No, you didn't, but Pam did mention it, and I felt the need, when she said that, I kinda went, ugh, because that's not why I
No,
did
that's
what I
fine.
did.
just wanted to reinforce the idea that you know, that's our job. And it's not easy, you're right. Every single person up here has a tough job. And, you know, I know it's certainly appreciated that you show up every week and, you put thought into it, you're doing your due diligence, and, it's a little, it gets a little easier the more you do it, just because you see more and you get but the big thing is, and the hardest part is, you're looking at new sets of facts on different cases, but we have to try to still remain consistent. And that's not the easiest thing in the world to do, so. That's all I wanted to say. Anybody have anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is adjourned. Thank you all.